just want to start off by saying hello and welcoming you all to today's webinar. We're really excited to talk to you about how we've helped hundreds of construction companies find important job and property information for their notices and other paperwork. I know we have a mix of current Levelset customers on this webinar, as well as some people who maybe have just heard the name Levelset for the first time over the last few days or weeks or months. We'll definitely cover the basics of who we are and what we do for those of you who are new. And we'll also dive deeper into the nuances of our Scout research solution for those current customers who are looking to level up. Before I move forward, I just do want to let everyone know that this is a live session. So you'll receive a link to the recording in your email tomorrow. Feel free to share that recording with your team, your boss, watch it again, really anyone you want, but just please do know that. And then also, if you have any questions during the presentation, you can go ahead and enter them in the chat box and we'll answer those questions throughout the webinar. We also have some dedicated time at the end. So if there's any additional questions at that point, we can go ahead and answer them then, but feel free to start asking any questions that you may have. All right, so I want to start off with some quick introductions before we jump into the session. My name is Hannah Lease. Most people on my team call me Kev or Kevin though, which is my middle name. And I'm the manager of the Scout Ultimate research team. I've been at Levelset for just over 3 years, and I started on the Pro research team, which is the sister team to the Ultimate team. And I was on that team for about a year, and then I moved over to the Scout Ultimate team. And then over time, I have moved into the manager role. And we do have a quick last minute change of person who's joining us today. We do have Miss Carly who's joining us today as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carly. I am a researcher on the Scout Ultimate team. I have been working at Levelset for a bit over 2 years. I also started on the Pro research team, spent about 6 months there, and now I've been on the Ultimate team for about 1.5 years.
Awesome. So for those of you who are new to Levelset and you're maybe still learning who we are, I'll just give you a quick summary. Basically, Levelset exists to help contractors and suppliers get paid, protect their lien rights, and avoid potential payment problems in order to grow and thrive in the construction industry. The construction industry presents all sorts of challenges when it comes to getting paid. In order to solve those challenges, we provide free resources like our payment profiles, which are essentially Yelp for contractors, education, lien law guidelines, and other payment solutions. We also have a full product suite of solutions, including cloud-based lien rights management software, credit risk reports, material financing, and of course, what we're talking about today, our job research solution, which we'll be discussing in detail. So what is Levelset and kind of how do we help construction companies? Most of you on this webinar are current Levelset customers, but I know we have a few people who aren't and maybe hearing about Levelset for the first time. So to give you a little bit of background, the Levelset system allows you to access the most comprehensive job sheet or job data and construction information to confirm details on your paperwork. That's things like property owners, general contractors. In some states, there's even requirements for lenders or for bonding companies, depending on the type of work that was performed and depending on some other additional criteria. All of that is very confusing or can be very confusing. And our main goal is to help simplify that entire process to make it very easy to keep track of who needs to get documents, who has gotten documents, and making sure that everyone is getting paid. We also, through our platform, offer instant updates about who's on your jobs in the form of notifications. So you're able to log in to your account and see a wide range of contacts that are on the job, contacts that might be on the job, that have also sent notices to certain contractors, just a whole plethora of information. And additionally, we also have 2 expert research teams that can help verify and confirm property information. Just as a housekeeping tip, if you have any questions at all, please drop them into the chat and we'll make sure to answer them at the end. I already see at least one coming in and we want to make sure to get to all of those. We have 3 different tiers of research here at Levelset. If you want to go to the next slide. Awesome, thank you. We have 3 different tiers of research. The first is Scout Standard, and this is really kind of an automatic tier. This doesn't guarantee that there's a dedicated researcher looking at any of these projects. Basically, we have a behind the scenes integration that runs it through not only our internal database, which has millions of jobs, but also a property ownership platform that confirms all across the country property ownership, project type, and in addition, a description of the property. So this kind of runs behind the scenes and it confirms this information. Folks who tend to be a good fit for Scout Standard are ones who have really clean project addresses and know a lot about the jobs that they're working on. Typically, general contractors are a good fit for a Scout Standard, as well as sometimes subcontractors who you might work on a residential property and you know that the address is like 123 South Main Street, or have a clean project address like that. If you, maybe one of those categories doesn't fit, like you're missing a general contractor, or you tend to know that your jobs are road work at the intersection of North Street and 2nd Street, but not exactly what that job address is, you might be a better fit for Scout Pro, which is our next level of research. And this involves all of the same resources that Scout Standard has, plus there is a human looking at a majority of these documents. So you can use like human judgment to help determine information about the project. Say it was road work that was being done, but there was a drop location that was provided to you of the HEB that was on Main Street, but the job was actually for the road work there. By allowing a person to be researching it rather than a computer system to be researching it, it provides an additional level of protection that everything is being looked at, confirmed, making sure there's no inconsistencies between the data that's being provided and what is being sent out and is correct. The next tier of research adds all of that human, all of the software platforms that we have, plus there are phone calls and emails being sent to confirm really hard to find project information. Sometimes this information just simply isn't online. For example, lenders in California, there's typically not a record online of those lenders. So to find those required contacts can be very tricky. And the best way is to have someone pick up that phone and actually call. Say Carly hires someone to paint a wall in her house blue. There may, if it just is a wall being painted, there might not be a permit that's being filed. It might just be a painter working directly with the homeowner. And so calling to confirm information is really the easiest way and most correct way for us to find any of that information. So you may be wondering which level of research is right for you. The kind of general rule is the less information you have, and Lo, if you want to jump to the next slide, this summarizes a little bit. The general rule is the less information you have, Ultimate is probably a better fit for you. If you rarely have general contractors, or if you're struggling to find lenders, because Ultimate provides that phone call, we can find information that might not be available online or is really hard to find online. If you tend to have like a medium good amount of information, you know, you have a good project address, but maybe you're occasionally missing the general contractor, or you have a really solid name of the job each time, but maybe exactly where the job is taking place is a little iffy, Scout Pro is the level to go for you. And then on Scout Standard, it's really if you're looking for really basic job information, such as the property owner or the project description. And Carly has some specific examples about how over the past 2 years, the Scout Ultimate team has been able to fill in some really hard to find information.
Thanks, Kev. So yeah, like Kev said, I'm just going to go over a few examples of how Scout Ultimate has kind of a leverage compared to other research teams because of that phone call ability. You can see in this picture me hard at work with my little dog, but there she is, didn't quite make the cut, but we'll have to fix that for the next slide deck. But yeah, I'll go on to the first example. This example in particular was for a notice in Florida. Florida notice to owners have several required contacts that need to be listed on these documents. And we had a document come in, a project that one of our partners sent us, where they provided their customer as a general contractor. We were not able to find any information linking this general contractor to the project address or the property owner. So we were able to get on the phone, call their customer directly, found out they actually were not the general contractor. They were a subcontractor, and then they gave us the name of the general contractor. So this first example is just pretty clear that calling really helped ensure the accuracy of this document. We were able to update the roles so every contractor on the job was listed correctly. Every contractor on the job got the correct notice. And just one really good example of how, had we not been able to call on the phone, this document would have gone out inaccurately, most likely. The next example I have is a bit similar, but it's regarding job address. This project was actually given to us by one of our larger volume partners. We research hundreds of documents for them per month, especially in Texas. And on this job, they listed the project address as on Fort Worth Street in the city of Fort Worth. We were, checking all of our online databases, trying to find this address, find the property owner, really pinpoint the site for the project, could not find a thing. So we called the general contractor on the job. Turns out we were given the incorrect project address. It was on Fort Worth Street, but it was in the city of Dallas. So with this new information, we were able to update the project address, but then also find all the project information, find the site, the property owner, confirm the project as a whole now that we were able to look in the right place. And then my next and last example is actually one of my favorites. This project was for a brand new charter school. Construction had just started. And charter schools can be a little tricky because sometimes they are privately funded, they're owned by an LLC, or they're owned by a corporation. But also sometimes charter schools can be public. They're funded and run by the Board of Education. We were researching this project for such a new school. This information really wasn't available online with any of the resources we had. So one of our researchers actually got on the phone, called the charter school directly and just asked, hey, are you guys private or public? Turns out they were public. We were originally told they were private. So this was essential because the type of document that was required to be sent out would have changed, or it did change based on it being private or public. With this phone call ability, we could just get the correct information, make sure all of the notices that we're sending out are not only as complete as possible, also as accurate as possible. We do hundreds of these a day. These are just 3 examples of how that Scout Ultimate level of research really helps. And then let's see. Well, if you don't believe me, you can listen to a few of our partners who have some rating reviews for us. The first one says, Scout research has saved us a ton of time. It gives us confidence to know that the best research has been done on your end to make sure we're getting the notices to the owner properly. The second one from Natalie at Faulkner Haynes is actually one of my favorites. It says, if job details are missing, the Scout team finds them. Level Set Scout finds whatever details are missing to file the notices. It reminds me of the Wizard of Oz. Level Set's behind the curtain, taking care of these details every day for me, and I love you guys for that. We love Natalie too. That's really what our goal is here, is to be behind the scenes, make sure all of your notices are going out correctly, accurately, completely. And then the next quote and the last quote says, Level Set Scout research fills in the blanks for me so that if I ever send a notice of intent to lien, it's going to the right person. Otherwise, I'm just struggling and emailing everyone to try and get the right information. And then I think we have some time for some questions. Kev, if you've been in the chat, you want to answer one real quick?
Absolutely. Monica asked, how do you distinguish between multiple projects that are at the same project site/address that have different project owners? That's a really great question. And I don't have a cut and dry answer for you because it really depends on the context clues that are given about that specific project. The most common situation that this arises in is for homeowners associations, especially in apartment buildings or in condo buildings where each unit may be individually owned by, one unit's owned by Bob, one unit is owned by Joe, but the determining if the project is for the entire overall building, the owners association, or if it's for, Bob's individual unit or Joe's individual unit. These are some of the trickier jobs to try to confirm about who the owner is. And we have a couple methods that we use. The first is using the clues that are provided on the document. Say that that are provided on the project, say that the customer enters like that it's a specific unit number we can use that information to confirm that it was for an individual unit rather than the overall development. Sometimes that information is not provided though, and then we can go ahead and either we have a two-step process. We directly call the general contractor and see who the work was being done for, if it was done for the overall owners association or if it was done for an individual unit. And if they don't pick up the phone, we go ahead and we can reach out directly to the person who ordered the document, and we can ask if they have any more information about if it was for a specific unit or for a specific or for the overall development. We don't make any assumptions about things because we want to make sure that all the information we're adding is completely accurate. So we have a chat feature where we can communicate back and forth directly on the project to like kind of iron out some of those fine details. Carol asked that you have a job that is owned by the fire protection district. Is that considered private or public? Without looking at the specific details of the job, I'm not able to answer the question because it might depend. It'll depend on details about the state, but I can definitely look into it if you have a little bit more information based on the state or the specific fire protection district name, and get back to you in the email that's sent out or later this week. One common question we get, and if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat and we will make sure to answer those. One common question we get is basically what does the Ultimate team do when our customers don't want to give out information? This is a process that it actually doesn't happen as much as you think. The last time I looked at the numbers, it was like less than 2% of the phone calls we make are we told like, we're not going to share that information with you. It's really pretty uncommon. It does happen from time to time though, and we have a couple of approaches that we can use. The first is determining why they aren't comfortable sharing the information. Sometimes it's a case of they don't know who we are and they don't want to give information out to a stranger. And so by confirming with them that we actually do work on behalf of a specific customer, that tends to alleviate a lot of those fears. Sometimes they're just in a bad mood though, and they want us to call back the next day, and the next day they're in a better mood, and we can make it work that way. The next question I commonly get is what happens if you've done everything and Scout Ultimate still can't find the information we need? That does happen from time to time, especially when the information doesn't exist online. If a general contractor or a subcontractor doesn't pick up the phone, we don't have a lot of other avenues, or reply to an email, we sometimes don't have a lot of other avenues to get that information. So in those cases, we have a whole set of custom preferences that the customer can determine what they want to happen in those situations. Sometimes they just want us to go ahead and send the document out, and that contact will be listed as requested. Sometimes they want us to notify them, because they may have like an additional phone number or an additional email that we can reach out to. So it's kind of situational, but it's really up to the complete control of the partner of what they want to happen with those documents.
And then we also have a question from Jenny, really good question. It says, we do a lot of work for Department of Transportation's on highway work. How precise can an address get when it's for a span of highway work, or how precise does it need to be? This happens all the time with highway work. Usually the most helpful piece of information that can be provided to us is the project name. If it's on one specific highway, or if you have like a cross street perhaps, that can sometimes be helpful as well. If you were a Scout user, you would definitely want to be on Pro or Ultimate plan for this, just because, like Kev said, Scout Standard isn't going to be able to pick any non-specific addresses up in their integration. So yeah, with Department of Transportation jobs, usually the project name is the most helpful piece of information. Or maybe if you have a general contractor name, that's usually a good hint for us as well.
Yeah, as a general rule of thumb, as Carly said, like anything that you have about the job that you can provide is helpful. I remember a couple of years ago, we had one job that the only picture we were able to find was like of a groundbreaking that was happening, but the researcher noticed that there was a very odd looking tree kind of in like the background of the groundbreaking that he could clearly see like where it was. And he knew the approximate area that the job was taking place in, but there was no precise address. I think it was like a new like multifamily apartment building. So it was this huge development. And using that tree, he was actually able to, and in combination with GIS maps, he was actually able to identify exactly where that parcel was. So sometimes just like the name of the development can be really helpful in helping us find information. You never know what's going to stick sometimes. All right, well, I don't see any additional questions coming in, but if you guys do have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to either our 5-star support team or directly to your CSM if you have any specific questions, and we would be more than happy to get those answered. I want to thank everyone so much for taking the time today to come join this webinar. And this, as a reminder, this webinar will be sent out probably within the next 24 to 48 hours, along with any contact information to either help find out more about Scout Ultimate or get you started.